Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, we're celebrating a handheld I love so dearly. It is my favorite console of all time, and I wanted to commemorate it before we dive into some more Game Boy related content here on Retro Rebound. So let's talk about why the Game Boy Advance SP is the best system of all time. I love this little thing so much. We've got the Pikachu handheld right here. This one was pretty limited. I got it off of eBay for 80 bucks. This is pre-pandemic, so the prices have gone up a lot now. As you can see here, fully works. It's got that beautiful sound with it too. Iconic, man. You got the little Pikachu here on the bottom right. The color mapping is all thematic, attached to Pikachu. It's beautiful, mint condition. Really proud to own this one. But what makes this system so special? We're going to be getting into that in today's video. So if you're new here and you're looking for more Game Boy or retro-related content, consider subscribing. And now let's talk about why this bad boy right here, if I can grab it, is the best system of all time. Of course, it boils down to games. With this thing here, we're not really talking hardware because visually, almost everything on this system was 16-bit. That happens to be my favorite art style as well, which really helps things out a lot. I thought games on the Game Boy Advance look beautiful because this is a very cliche statement, but graphics are temporary, art style is forever. So to me, the Game Boy Advance games will always and forever be beautiful because their art style enables them to be able to do that. Whereas you look at 3D models on, let's say, the PS2, and there's a charm to them, of course, of, man, remember when we thought this was great? But that's the thing, you go, remember when we thought this was great? With Game Boy Advance games, they still remain beautiful in my eyes. But as a kid who did not have a lot of money growing up, really, it was the notion of safe purchases. So if I got a game from Blockbuster that I really liked, and let's say I got it on, again, we'll go to PS2, and then I wanted to get it for handheld because I traveled a ton when I was a kid, so I was never home. So the PSP and the Game Boy DS, they were absolutely necessary for me to game at all. So what I'd do is I'd rent a game from Blockbuster. Let's say I'd rent right here, Lord of the Rings Third Age, great turn-based RPG in the Lord of the Rings franchise. I'd rent this bad boy. I'd play it, I'd like it, and I'd see, hey, they've got a Game Boy Advance version for that. I'm going to try that one out. And it would be that notion of knowing I like this, so maybe I'll like this. And it was a system I had developed as a kid, again, with not much money, where it really fed off of things. Because Game Boy Advance games were a little bit cheaper than the console games. Even 10, 15 bucks, it made a difference when you didn't have a lot of money. And so with Lord of the Rings The Third Age, I thought this was a great example too, because as I started to buy more games when I got older, the double dipping on the Game Boy Advance was unlike any generation we have seen or ever will see. So, as I said, Lord of the Rings Third Age, turn-based RPG on GameCube, PS2, original Xbox. It's really good, by the way, if you haven't played it. Then you've got Lord of the Rings The Third Age on Game Boy Advance. And of course, you've got to squeeze that big console experience onto this sucker here on a little cartridge. And it turns out that these companies made, at sometimes for the worse, completely different games and experiences from what you'd get on the console. And I adored that. So what would happen is you'd get a turn-based RPG here, and then you get a Fire Emblem clone here. So what happens is I would buy a game twice because I'd have two totally different games under the same name. And I always thought that was so unique about this generation of the Game Boy, is you would get that double dipping. There's other examples I have here. My particular favorite one is you've got Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. Pardon me, I know this one here is, it's DS. I know. I do not own it on Game Boy, but I promise you the DS version and the Game Boy version of Episode 3 are the exact same. But you've got these two right here. And on PS2, this is a 3D game, 3D beat 'em up. But Episode 3 on DS and Game Boy Advance is probably one of my top 3 side-scrollers ever made. It's mechanically so good. The art style is beautiful. You could play as Anakin or Obi-Wan. There's upgrades after each mission. There's deflecting, countering, force moves, true lightsaber battles. It's really, 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 really good. But just like I said with Lord of the Rings Third Age, it's completely different from the console counterpart. So for me, as a big Star Wars freak, Episode 3 being my favorite movie, double dipping was really fun because I'd get two completely different experiences. And especially as I got older, it was fun to shop for these systems because you never knew what the Game Boy counterpart that had to be squeezed down in that tiny hardware, what that would end up being like. So that's one of my lead reasons why I think it's one of the best consoles of all time. The other is, of course, just games in general. And I just got a few to show you here today. I think of things like Mega Man Zero, for example. As a huge fan of the X series, I loved X8. That was actually my first. Actually, no, was it? My first one was the original X. I played X Maverick Hunter. Then I played X8. And then I went back and started churning through random X games. I played X5. I played X7. God bless, I played X7. And so I was just hopping all around that series. Then I find this Game Boy Advance exclusive. They do have an HD remaster for this series now. But I find this Game Boy Advance exclusive series, Mega Man Zero. Zero being one of the coolest characters in Mega Man to me. And it's all about his story and how Mega Man's gone. And it's a quiet, somber tale about Zero kind of coping with the loss of Mega Man as he rests and his war that he has to fight now, following up that series. Now, I will also say, if you're going to play this game, play it in the HD version. I just own this because I like the game. But this is, Souls vets, sit down. This is one of the hardest games you will ever play. Maybe I'm wrong because there are people out there who make every Mega Man game look easy. But to me, Mega Man Zero, one of the hardest games ever. Of course, we've talked about this individually on the channel. There's revolutionary RPGs like Golden Sun. Golden Sun, even to this day, makes some RPGs look a little bit foolish systemically. Art style wise, it's aged phenomenally, just like pretty much every game on the hardware. But really, its systems and its builds, its depth with the Djinns, all that stuff. It's amazing that this came out in, I think, 2001. And it still outdoes games to this day. And it's on this tiny piece of hardware that you could literally put in your pocket. Unbelievable. And of course, I got to shout out the Legacy of Goku series. So proud to be owning this one. I love Legacy of Goku because, again, this is where you had to experiment to support this very popular platform. And so they're like, oh, we can't put Budokai or our 8 million 3D fighters for Dragon Ball over on the Game Boy. We've got to figure something new out. Go figure. We've got to experiment. We've got to do something new. And so they made this action RPG series. They made Legacy of Goku 1, Stay Far Away. They made 2, Stay Close, pretty good one. They made Boo's Fury, also pretty good. They're fun games that put a spotlight on the side characters outside of Goku, even though it's called Legacy of Goku. It's kind of funny because you start off the game as Gohan, right? But it's like, okay, sure, whatever. I'm not going to argue it. It's like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and then you play as Gohan like the whole game, whatever. So anyway, they had games like this, though, that were specific to its platform. It's all about that exclusivity. It's like you can only get this. They haven't remastered this, ported this, nothing. You can only play this on Game Boy Advance. So there were unique experiences like that. And one thing that's been forgotten is we talk a lot about handheld gaming, which exists nowadays with, of course, we see the Steam Deck upcoming. We see the likes of the Nintendo Switch being the lead handheld platform. But one thing that was always true with handheld gaming, whether it be the PSP, the Game Boy, was you could actually put it in your pocket. You could put these in your pocket so you could truly game on the go. My brother played a lot of baseball growing up, so we traveled to tournaments. So that was my main way of gaming. I had to take handheld with me. I couldn't take consoles with me because we'd be in hotel rooms and we didn't want anything to get taken at that time. My mom was extremely paranoid. So handheld gaming, because it could just go whoop, right in the pocket. I lived and died off this thing, man. And just the thought that nowadays we have like the Switch, which is a handheld console. But that thing, dude, you gotta bring a carrying case, a backpack, somewhere to put that thing because it's not going in your pocket. These could, though. That was awesome about this generation. So to me, it's between, of course, the exclusive games, which some of them have left the system, but some of them are still there, like Golden Sun, like, of course, Dragon Ball Z, Legacy of Goku. And then it's also that ability to double dip. And that doesn't even get into highly popular titles, some of which I've been critical of recently. You look at something like, Pokemon, of course. You cannot deny Pokemon's absolute ability to bring millions of people to this system right here. And of course, their lead IP got love here. Metroid Fusion, Super Mario Bros. Advance, excellent games. Fire Emblem. There was Advance Wars, which has a remake coming out next year. So many very important titles that just hung around on this system for many years. So to me, it's just the absolute best, the beautiful screen. I remember when they didn't have backlit screens on these things and you had to use the little whirly kind of light that would hang over it and block some of the screen. So I'd have to like play and look on an angle. My gosh, such different times, right? Now everything's got a backlit screen, but this one was transformative because it actually came with one. So you could see when you played at dark, or for me, when I neglected my parents' orders and I'd play in bed late at night. And then on top of that, the Game Boy Color compatibility. That was the other thing. It wasn't just the Game Boy Advance games you got here. It was Game Boy Color. You could go back to your old library, the Game Boy games, and you could play them with the backlit screen. You could actually see them. That was the thing I had so much trouble with as a kid. You know, when your eyes were nice and shiny and new, I could barely see the dang screen. But now with the Game Boy Advance SP, I could. And so it breathed life into its older library. And it was this amazing backwards compatible machine on top of that. So one of the experiences I remember so well with Game Boy Advance SP was, like I said, neglecting parents' orders. Go to bed, Matt. Nope, not doing that. Fired up Pokemon Blue, and I'd just quietly do a little playthrough in bed in the wee hours of the night, quietly neglecting the parents' orders. And I always think about that one. That's why I said in my Pokemon video, right? That series just makes us nostalgic. There's so many interesting moments and unique moments for, I think, all of us attached to that series, and that happens to be one of mine. But I also remember bailing on Pokemon for a series we've talked about in this channel, Capcom's forgotten Pokemon game known as Mega Man Battle Network. That was where I ditched Pokemon, and I was like, yo, Mega Man doing Pokemon games? Okay, come here, pal. Let's do this. I loved Battle Network so much. And that series has not been ported yet. And so it's only on Game Boy Advance. It's my favorite one of them all. And I just, again, share so much fond memories with this system. So those are just some of my memories and reasoning why I think this is the best handheld and system of all time. And of course, I know people will disagree. That's okay. But I'd love to hear your thoughts anyways. Please do fire away. And with that, take excellent care of yourselves. We'll talk very soon, all right? Peace out.